Whereas if you are involved in some business or some type of industry, you're trying to make decisions for the benefit of your industry, but you are caught up with trying to deal with all of these various levels, conflicting levels of government. I know, going back again to the area where I grew up, this last year they had a big disagreement, big battle between the town government, town of Arkwright, and the village government, village of Forestville, in the town of Hanover, over fire protection. And they went back and forth. A lot of individual personalities got involved in this thing, and it created all sorts of difficulties for the people who live there. Too many levels of government. As the one person told me many years ago, that bureaucracy is a wonderful thing, because if you have a very highly structured bureaucratic government, eventually you can spend your entire 40-hour week just dealing with other bureaucracies. And you can answer memos, and you can attend meetings, and while all of this stuff is going on, not much is happening as far as providing services for the public.
We do have the problem of overlapping governments right here in Chautauqua County.
Yes.
We have
oh, you are #1 in terms of government. You have government after government after government after government, and all of them can assess taxes.
Yeah, right, and they all do.
They all do?
They're feckless. They have no compunction against not.
And the interesting thing about each one of these little governments, somebody gets elected to a position, and you have to do something. So you're going to have to, what? Set up a service. And once you set up the service, they're going to come in at the next meeting and say, okay, we need more clerical support because the demand for the service is so high. So therefore, we have to have more clerical staff. Then it's going to be, okay, now we need to have more buildings because we've got to provide these services. For a long time, Chautauqua County had town supervisors, and the town supervisors got together on occasion to a board of supervisors over here in Mayville. And the board of supervisors, the people who came in periodically for these meetings, were primarily concerned with providing the services back for the people who lived in the townships. And as a result, you had one courthouse building down here, which stood there for year after year after year, and nobody saw the need to make any additions to it. But then once they went to a county legislature in good old Mayville, boom, boom, boom. We have a lot more buildings there now, right?
Oh, yes.
Many more people working there than what was the case before.
Excepting the county is now cutting back on those buildings and people. They just did away with the Office of the Aging and the Veterans Administration here in Chautauqua County and combined them, made them one entity. And I think they're going to get a little trailer down by the riverside.
Oh, okay.
But, hello, Marianne Spanos and Smith. We love you.
Yeah, but nevertheless, the point is that the Board of Supervisors functioned very effectively for many years. As a matter of fact, my great-great-grandfather, he was on the Board of Supervisors back in the 1860s. But then, starting, I think it was about 40 years ago now, that they put through the county charter. I believe so, about 40 years ago.
My history is a little foggy.
Yeah. About 40 years ago, they put through the county charter, and they went through, I think it was initially 13 people in the county legislature, and now it's got up to 25 people.
And they can't seem to cut that back. They're trying desperately, they tell us.
But I don't know, it's sort of almost like a museum piece here now. Because if you go back to when the county was set up, now we're in the bicentennial type year at this point, a couple hundred years ago, the only way people had to travel would be by horse, right? Carriage. And you could go 5 or 6 miles in a day. And you had all of these smaller communities which grew up around railroads and highways, which would service the people within a 5 or 6 mile area, 5 or 6 mile region. And at that time, they would go through and have stores and commercial establishments and what have you. But what has happened, technology has intervened. Now people drive great distances to the big box outlets, right? They don't go to the local community anymore to buy things. And as a result, the smaller communities are sort of fading away, except for the houses are there. But nevertheless, we are still maintaining the village structure, the town structure, the county structure, and all of these small school district structure.
We got a couple of calls. You want to take that call?
Sure.
Hey, good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning. I've been enjoying the discussion this morning.
Okay.
I have a question for your guest.
Sure.
If you could be king, what would be the first 3 things you would do to change everything you've been saying?
What would be the first 3 things you could do? One of the things that I would start with would be consolidation of the schools. Now, you understand the state has set up a provision now to go to regional high schools, at least in Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County. That's something that people should be doing very quickly. Years ago, when I was working in the Franklinville district over in Cattaraugus County, we only had about 1,000 students in that entire school system, kindergarten through 12th grade, which again is somewhat larger than the majority of the schools are now in Chautauqua County. It was very, very difficult to provide a quality program at the high school level if you have such a small student base. When I moved from there up to the Albion district in Orleans County, we had 3,000 students in the district. 3,000 students in the district provided a reasonable base to have a substantial high school secondary program. When I went to the state of Hawaii, in the state of Hawaii, as I said, we had one statewide school system. There were no individual districts, no county districts, one statewide system. And what we tried to do there is set it up so that our secondary schools, our high schools, had somewhere between 800 and 1,400 students to provide a quality program at an efficient cost in a secondary school.
Just one district. Now here we have, what, 18 at least?
18 in the one county. There you had one district for the whole state, okay? And the one district for the whole state, we were able to provide a very high quality program in the state of Hawaii, and it was operated actually by the state system. In this case, and coming back to Chautauqua County, there are opportunities for consolidation of the schools. People should be supporting the consolidation efforts as they occur.
They tried Westfield and Ripley, they turned it down, and they tried, I guess it was Fredonia and Brockton, or...
That didn't go either,
They turned that down. No. Nobody wants to consolidate and cut back in government. They seem, and of course bureaucracies, it forms...
They love the bureaucracy.
Bureaucracies are like a form of cancer. They just get bigger.
But Reed, if you have lots of governments, it's a lot easier to get elected to some kind of an official.
Everybody's an elected official.
You can become an elected official, right?
Well, that reminds me of Westfield. Now, I'm not criticizing it, but I'm a member of the fire department, and when we right up till very recently this year, the fire department ran its affairs, and the mayor participated, and the village board.
Right.
Well, they decided to set up another layer of bureaucracy. Now there is a board of fire commissioners.
No, that's
okay.
Nice.
We just brought a new member in, who's a past firefighter, I might add, a great kid, Judd Storms, and as usual, the group that sponsored him had to approve him. Our local group. Then it has to go to the fire department itself, and they have to approve him. That's 2 layers. Now it has to go to the commissioners for the 3rd approval. We have got a couple of calls. We should take one. Yeah. What do you think? Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning. Before I ask my question, I want to mention what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful summer we're having. It couldn't be better.
You're right. And the Chautauqua County is the best county in the world, even though it's the highest taxed in the world.
Number one.
Number one.
Well, I usually start out, if I'm meeting a stranger and they ask me where I live, I say I live on the shores of beautiful Lake Erie in a little town that, it's just, I love my little town.
Let me show you a picture of beautiful Lake Erie that is stunning. Is Jeff Zook available there? He took this photograph recently. This is Barcelona. Isn't that gorgeous?
It certainly is.
You see the beautiful, you can see the Reed Pier coming into it. And that is where we live, folks, ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, I often go down there and just watch the sunset.
Yeah.
And I love going down on a stormy day in the winter when the waves are breaking and they are forming the ice and on the pier and so forth.
Right.
It's so pretty.
Jeff Zook, master photographer, thank you for that shot. Okay, what was your question?
Well, my question is, I understand that there's a lot of, like the town has something and then the county duplicates it kind of, and then even the state might duplicate what the town, there's too many fingers in the pot, so to speak, and we have to pay all those fingers.
Oh,
so,
yeah, they all cost money.
But is there anything, we complain about all these things all the time, but it doesn't seem like anybody's hearing or anything ever gets changed. Once somebody gets in there, that's it, and we're very reticent to eliminate or anything. Is there any way that, other than right now, they are eliminating some jobs I don't think they should even be eliminating.
Oh, they're eliminating jobs, but none of the bureaucracies.
Right, exactly. And I'm not real happy about that, such as education. We're already way behind China in educating our children and so forth, and now we're doing all these cuts. We're going to get further and further behind, and I don't think that's very good for the viability of our country myself.
Well, we're no longer number one at this point.
And we are not.
Because of this is one of the reasons. Our education is failing us.
Yes, and we're slipping further. By getting rid of teachers is not the answer.
Unless there's no students, which is happening.
In my opinion. But anyway, so is there any suggestions about what a common citizen with, the only power you have is the power of your vote, and that's only one vote, so apparently the politicians don't always pay attention to that unless they're afraid they're not going to get reelected.
Right.
Anything an ordinary citizen can do to let the politicians and so forth know that we're unhappy and to get them to change it.
What would you do?
Okay. Well, you can, as far as talking to the elected officials, normally they listen when it's close to the election time, but otherwise you're going to have difficulty. One of the things you can do, we've talked a little bit before about the idea of consolidation of schools. That's something that can be discussed with your local, boards of education and start pushing for the consolidation of schools. There also is a whole situation of, do you really need to maintain the number of villages, the village governments that we now have? In many cases, the services could be provided by the town government. Essentially, the way the state is set up so that there are the counties and then there are the towns within each county, which is, again, a sort of a combination of the New England style, where most of the governance is actually done at the town level, and the county governments coming up from the actual south. So New York State was lucky. We had both the counties and the towns. Mm-hmm. When I lived in the state of Maine, it was a situation was much different up there. The state government in Maine, even up until just recently, is about the same size as the county government is in Mayville. Okay, about the same size, same number of buildings. State government of Maine is about the size of the county government.
Yeah, but remember population.
Now, most of the decisions actually in Maine were made at the local town level, township. In other words, it would be a 2 or 3 day annual town meeting in March, and you would vote on everything that was happening locally. And in the state of Maine, if you bought your license plates, you went down to get license plates for your car, you bought them from the town government. They were not bought from the state, which is an interesting situation. So in the state of Maine, you had a small, very small state government, and most of the actual decisions took place at the town level.
Right, local level.
That's a very local level. In other words,
they actually know what the problem is.
Yeah, what they would do in Maine is they'd come in, they'd have these warrants, tax warrants, and you spend 3 days at a town meeting in March, and it finally comes down to the local school. Do we need to buy 18 brooms this year, or do we buy 6 brooms this year? And you talk about that item, and someone says, okay, 18, 6, I move we buy 8, second, okay, going to buy 8 brooms this year for the school. And there was that kind of situation. So we had a very active involvement at the town level, okay? When I was working in Hawaii, we had county governments, no villages, no cities, no school districts. We had county governments and we had a state government. The state government, the state legislature met for 60 days once a year.
60 days?